Hi, it's Michael and David here, presenting Small Business Banter. A healthy micro and small business sector means a successful economy and a more vibrant society. Small Business Banter is about helping regional business owners better prepare for the current challenges and also for the next stage of business success. I'm Michael Kerr, founder of Kerr Capital, advisors to business owners. Each week with David Gregory, CEO of the Small Business Mentoring Service, we'll interview a different small business expert or a fellow business owner and operator. And they're going to share their best tips and insights for you, the listener. Small Business Banter is brought to you from the studios of 104.7 Gippsland FM and heard across Australia on the Community Radio Network. Thanks also to our supporters, Kerr Capital and the Small Business Mentoring Service.
One of the greatest challenges that face small business is how they take their products to market. So today we're going to invite Tim Reid, the host of Australia's #1 marketing podcast, the Small Business Big Marketing Show, to come and have a chat with us. Marketing's a key element, isn't it, Michael?
Absolutely. It's essential to all businesses, and I think a lot of people find it overwhelming and confusing, and Tim's certainly the guy to help demystify some of those things and really I think he's going to focus on some really core things that each owner should think about doing.
Absolutely. Tim also started his program more than 10 years ago, and he has over 480 episodes and over 3 million downloads under his belt. So clearly he's a person that's got some knowledge and skills within this space. He's also, interestingly, available on the Virgin Airline flights podcasts that you can listen to as you're travelling between states once we are able to do so. So welcome, Tim. Can you give us a bit of a rundown on your good self and tell us the sorts of things that you've been involved in?
Well, where do I start? How long have you got? I thought we only had 20 minutes. I'm a fellow who is desperately passionate about helping mainly small business owners, but business owners in general, overcome their fear and frustrations around marketing. And I've done that for decades in corporate, and for the last about 11 or 12 years, I've been out on my own doing that via my Small Business Big Marketing podcast, by keynote speaking at conferences, workshops, and I've written a book called The Boomerang Effect, and it's all in the spirit of overcoming business owners' fear around marketing.
That's a great place to start, Tim. Why do you think, to kick off our conversation, why do you think owners generally struggle with marketing?
There's a number of reasons, but there are 3 limiting beliefs all of them have around it. One is they think it's either going to cost too much, it's going to take too long, or they lack the knowledge. And and that would be very common amongst most business owners. I mean, those listening right now are probably nodding their head to at least one of those limiting beliefs. But my belief around that is there's actually never been a better time to market a business of any size in any industry, because what we have at our disposal these days is incredible, and I'm sure we'll get to talk about that shortly.
Yeah, no doubt. And the other interesting part is that you've coined a phrase of helpful marketing. Can you explain what that means?
It's really the concept of helpful marketing. I'll go back a step. There's push marketing and there is pull marketing, and there's a role for both. Push marketing is like advertising, direct marketing, letterbox drops, sponsorship, and it's where you have a limited amount of time or space where you push your marketing message onto the unsuspecting. and again, there is a role for that, but pull marketing is when you pull people towards you that because you have been so incredibly helpful. And I don't think enough businesses recognise that being helpful in life, as in business and in marketing, is a really, really good principle. And so helpful marketing, the starting point of helpful marketing is where you identify the problems that your prospects and your customers have. What are those big questions they have? What are those blockages they have to buying from you or within your category that you can go about solving? And it's a really good place to start. And it's a very, very satisfying way of going about your marketing. And I'm sure like everyone's thinking, well, okay, that sounds pretty good. Where would I start? The first place to start is, because I think both David and Michael, marketing is so much about mindset. If you've got the right mindset, then everything else can fall into place. So adopt a helpful mindset. And then the second step would be to simply, as of right now, have your marketing radar on and listen to the questions that your prospects and your customers and your clients are asking and start to write them down. And you will in no time, I mean, I'm sure you could do it right now. In 20 minutes, you could have at least 20 questions and then go about answering those questions, either by video. Yeah.
Does that involve then reaching out and going to visit customers, talking to them about their experiences with you, documenting it, testimonials? Is that the sort of thing you have in mind there?
Not necessarily, although I think as a strategy, and it depends what business you're in. If you're in, if you're selling high volume products in some kind of retail outlet, then you don't go and see your customers necessarily. But if you're a service provider, an accountant or a chiropractor, I think it's great. Just go out and speak to your customers for sure and have a listen to what they're asking. The idea of testimonials is not so much around helpful marketing, although I believe very much in testimonials. But the idea of helpful marketing is just identifying those questions and answering them. And then if you want me to get really specific, is the first place you would put the answers to all those questions is on a knowledge centre or a learning hub button on your website. Many businesses have a little FAQ section. Well, this is FAQ on steroids. And yeah.
The great advantage of that approach is that selling to people is about solving a problem for them. So if you can identify what their problem is and then you can meet that need, you've developed a relationship, and you've probably developed a relationship for life. I remember at one stage, Tim, that you highlighted a fishing tackle place that put in a camera that showed the tides. Now, that was a classic example of being helpful to their customers.
Well, it was actually a guy who sold and serviced high-end motorboats, and he embraced helpful marketing. He's an old client of mine, and he owned a business down on St Kilda Marina in Victoria on Port Phillip Bay. And his example of helpful marketing was very simple. He would go down to the foreshore every single Thursday. He'd put his iPhone on a tripod with a $60 lapel mic, and he would record himself doing a weather report and explaining how the weather was going to affect your boating for the coming weekend. And then he'd upload that to YouTube. He'd share that to his email database of 8,000 contacts, and every business should be building an email database. And as a result, he was just deemed incredibly helpful. His business in the first year of doing that was 35% up year on year, in a pretty tough market selling high-end power boats. But what's really interesting about that case study is his name's Darren, this fellow. Darren not only sold more boats and serviced more boats, but other amazing things happened to him because he was deemed a very helpful business owner in his industry. He became the Beach and Bay weather reporter on the local radio station down in Melbourne, 3AW. He developed a speaking career within the Boating Industry Association. So when you're helpful, amazing things happen.
Yeah, I think I'm aware of that, Darren. He's a great example of that, Tim. He built himself a lot of profile. Right. We're going through challenging times, and the audience that we're speaking to today is a lot of regional business owners. Yeah. Marketing is a challenge. You laid out some of those mindset challenges earlier about cost too much time, etc. But would it be fair to say at the moment, there with business being a little bit abnormal, that it's the best time to really revisit what your company's all about and what your marketing should look like?
I think despite the fact that we are going through really challenging times and many business owners won't come through the other end, for those that can see the light, and I hope most of those listening can see the light, there's a lot you can be doing right now. I mean, the silver lining to the pandemic is that it's created time, and it's time for, because going back a step, not enough business owners allocate time to their marketing. It's sort of like, they'll get around to it, or they don't know what to do, or for whatever reason they don't. Now is a time to start allocating time to it. And, simple things like, review your brand. A great exercise. There's a concept called marketing touch point. And a marketing touch point is anywhere where someone comes into contact with your business. Could be your business card, your signage, your website, your social media presence, your local paper ads. Print every single touch point out, blue tack it to a wall, and have a look at it. Have a look at them all in the cold hard light of day, and ask yourself: am I one consistent brand that people would trust, or is it a dog's breakfast? Do I have different fonts, different images, different messages, different logo versions? And really look at your brand in the cold hard light of day. That's a great exercise. Every single business should do that. And other things to do right now is to just kind of get rid of what's not working. Stop doing it and pick up something, do more of what is working in your marketing, and add to that something you've always wanted to do.
Well, one of those things, and it sounds like you were just about to go onto it, is the social media side. What I've witnessed is a huge number of businesses that feel social media is the way and the light. And for many of them it is. But it is also choosing which social media is right for their particular business and identifying where their customers are coming from.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, you're asking the wrong person here, because I'm the father of three teenagers and I hate social media. There it is. It's on the record. However, as someone who represents small business owners and their marketing, social media is potentially amazing. Having said that, I see very few businesses that are really smashing social media, and it's not a silver bullet. It is not. I mean, if you're a business owner listening thinking, I'm going to get on Facebook, I'm going to get on Twitter, I'm going to get on LinkedIn, whatever it may be, and that's going to be my marketing, then unless you really know what you're doing, and unless you're really committed to it, then it's a bright, shiny object that's going to distract you from the real game. So, there's plenty of social media gurus out there who'll say the opposite, but boy, oh boy, the frustrations I see are incredible.
So right now we're talking to Tim Reid from the Small Business Big Marketing podcast. Tim, you could well understand that small business owners would be totally overwhelmed by what they should or shouldn't do on social media. In the scheme of things, it's a part of a marketing mix. Is that but it's certainly not
look at marketing as a pie, and social media is a wedge, and it's a small wedge. On that pie, there is marketing is everything, and everything is marketing, and social media is a component part. It's not going away. Done well, it can be amazing. It can be an amazing customer service tool, an awareness tool. It can be a sales tool, but don't just open up a page and think everything's going to. Everything's going to be okay, because it's not like that. Two little tips around social media, boys. One is it's made up of two words: social media. So it is social. It is people having conversations online. That's a mindset that you need to take around it. If you can buy into that and accept that, then the question is, what conversations should my business and should I be having? And every platform's different. Facebook's a party. You go to Facebook to see who's with who, what they're wearing, what they're eating, where they are. So you have a party-like conversation around your business on Facebook, whereas LinkedIn is a networking event. People are there to talk business. So it's a vastly different conversation you have on LinkedIn about your business versus Facebook. Facebook, you might share some behind-the-scenes things. LinkedIn, you might share some more kind of proper business conversation. So, that alone should help you look at social media in a different light.
Absolutely, that's really good advice. The challenge that many small businesses have is that they spend all of their time in rather than on their business, and as such, they're focused in the day to day. For a small business, what sort of allocation should they put towards marketing? Is this something that they should have in their own mind that they will allocate a percentage of their time or a percentage of their budget towards marketing? And is this something that they should outsource or take on themselves?
Big questions there.
Big questions.
Yeah. I'm not going to answer what percentage of your turnover or your profit or whatever you should spend on your marketing, because it does depend by industry. And, if you're spending $1 and getting $2 back, then keep spending dollars. That said, a couple of things. There was the issue of time and there was the issue of money. Mindset-wise, recognise as business owners that the marketing landscape has changed significantly over the past decade, and all the changes that we're seeing are playing right into the hands of the business with a smaller budget. So I find it amazing that I have a podcast, my own show that I've been doing for 11 years. It doesn't cost much to produce, and it's had an incredible impact on my business. We have phones these days which are poorly named because we hardly use them to make calls, but they've got an incredible camera. They've got a video camera, a stills camera. They have a voice recorder. I mean, that is an incredible marketing machine. So if we think marketing costs a lot, think again. Because what used to cost $10,000 to go and get a corporate video done, you can now do on your iPhone if you need to as a place to start. So in terms of mindset, marketing is not as expensive as it used to be. Embrace it. From a time point of view, how much time should you allocate? On the Small Business Big Marketing podcast, I have interviewed, as of this week, 505 successful business owners. And there's a number of things that link them all. But one of them is their respect for marketing, and they don't use this language, but I've coined the phrase hobby. They treat marketing as a hobby, and when something's a hobby, you'll find the time, you'll find the money, you'll put it in your diary, and you can't wait to get around to doing it next time.
Yeah, I think as a result also, those people become their brand. They develop a personality and a relationship with their customers that just putting a logo and having a base website just doesn't do.
Well, that's the strategy in itself. Is as business owners, we all have personal brands. Some of us choose to take it to the next step and actually put our face to our business, and that can be a great strategy. And again, I actually think it's a point of difference. In a world of sameness, where it is very hard to find a point of difference, if you, the business owner, choose to stick your head above the trench and put your face to your business, whether it be in the videos or on your website or in your ads, then it can actually be really effective.
Yeah, agree totally, Tim. Look, we're coming up to getting close to our 20-odd minutes or so. Really enjoying the chat. You famously are quoted for saying if you had 20 minutes a day to market your business, what would you do? For the owners listening in, and to close out our discussion, unfortunately, what are those things practically that you would advise or recommend owners to think about doing now? Given
it does obviously depend on what industry you're in,
Sure.
But I think this idea applies to all industries. And that is, there is money being left on the table within your existing client base. So if you've got 20 minutes a day, revisit your existing and past client base and ask them, I interviewed a really interesting fellow a few months ago on the Small Business Big Marketing podcast. He's a real estate agent out of Beverly Hills, and he has the 666 rule. His name is Pete. He called it the number of the Pete as opposed to the number of the beast. But now you can change these numbers. But in 20 minutes a day, he was making 6 phone calls to existing or past clients, 6 LinkedIn connections, and 6 text messages. And so all up, 18 touches of existing and past clients. Now you can play with the numbers. You don't have to do phone calls, LinkedIn, and text. You can do whatever you want. You can do Messenger, you can do tweets, you could do post, snail mail. But I just think, let's remember the money. There is money sitting there in your business with existing clients. Go to them first, and
they've been happy in past.
Spent. Correct.
Yeah. So okay, that's number one.
Mm-hmm.
Can we challenge?
That's 20 minutes. That's 20 minutes. I mean, if you want to allocate more time, then I would right now, like I said earlier, revisit your existing marketing strategy and plan and delete what's not working, do more of what is, and introduce something new that would challenge you, that scares you. That, whether it be video marketing or asking for testimonials or joining the local chamber of commerce and starting to network. I mean, put yourself out there. I think my overarching message here is marketing is really important. Marketing is fun, and marketing has an incredible power to grow your business. So don't ignore it and respect it.
Yeah, and it's often a bit of a step up for owners to put themselves out there like that. But really, we're seeing some fantastic opportunities for those businesses that really get through this current challenge, because some of the competition is not going to be there anymore, and the time is right to really take that big leap, step up, be brave, and apply some of those marketing tips that you've just spoken to us about.
I think, Tim, that no one could not be inspired after listening to you. And I just wanted to highlight that listeners can subscribe to your podcast through their favourite podcast app. The podcast is called the Small Business Big Marketing Podcast. I would encourage people to have a look at that. Tim has a wealth of information and some great ideas for small business, and it's clean, simple, succinct information that just resonates with small business. It's not that highfalutin, complex type stuff.
No, I listened to a few over the weekend, Tim, and there was some really wonderful and very personal conversations with people about all the challenges they've been through in their business, and how marketing played a role in them getting through, but also you open them up on some other areas that should challenge all business owners, particularly at the moment. Look,
great stuff, Mike. Well, thanks for your support, boys, and well done to you for what you're doing for business owners in regional Australia. It's needed, and I know you're going to have a really positive impact. So thanks for having me.
It's been an absolute pleasure, Tim. You go well, and we'll look forward to talking to you another time, perhaps. Take care.
I'd love that.
Thanks, Tim.
And that was our very interesting and lively chat with Tim Reid from Small Business Big Marketing, the podcast. So, look, Dave and I thoroughly enjoyed that. We always like to recap with a couple of takeaways. I'm going to kick it off, David. I thought his point about tapping into and understanding your existing client base was a very obvious one, but a very powerful one.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that old adage that it costs a lot more to try and attract a new customer than to focus in and support an existing one. So I think that's great advice. The one that stood out to me is that it isn't all that time heavy or expensive to be involved in marketing. To take 20 minutes a day to adopt the 666 approach of making those sort of contacts is such a simple thing that any business could do.
Yeah, and we're looking for those simple, practical, doable things. I agree entirely. I thought he made it very clear that the cost of marketing isn't anywhere near as expensive as it used to be, and so it's accessible in different ways for owners.
Yeah, and that means that opportunities for online promotion of a business is a great opportunity, but be conscious that social media is social, and it's possibly a place to put up photos of your children and of the family dog. It's not necessarily a place that you want to push your professional image. So keep to the social medias that align to where your customers are.
Yeah, and I think that the overwhelm that some owners are feeling about not keeping up with social media, he put that nicely into context. It's part of a marketing mix. So if you have been stressing out about what to do on social media, it's a part of the marketing mix. It's not the whole mix. So I think Tim Reid has really thrown out a challenge there for all of us small business owners, myself included. I wanted to give a breakdown or further breakdown to his helpful marketing methodology and break it down into something that I think should be easily actionable, low to no cost, and quick. It's along the lines of the 666 concept he referred to in his interview with that US-based realtor, real estate agents, as we call them here in Australia. But I'm going to simply call it committing to doing 3 things to give your small business a boost through marketing, and at a time when we could all do with that boost. But it's about taking account of a really difficult and challenging environment we find ourselves in. Obviously, these 3, they're general ideas and they won't apply to all owners and to all businesses. So look, pick what works for your business or industry or change it, but commit to doing something and commit to doing 3 somethings. I recognise that there's going to be an element of discomfort and doing anything new, which is likely the case, is always going to be a little bit uncomfortable. But really, that's the idea. The situation we find ourselves in calls for, perhaps doing things differently, and really what's the risk of trying, and even if it doesn't work. But I reckon you'll find some success there. So my top 3, ring 3 of your long-standing customers and have a quick chat to them about how their business is doing. Don't make it a sales call for you. Just engage in a conversation and, look for opportunities to help them. See how that goes. Secondly, join a local business or networking group and get to talk to other owners. It's so important. You never know what you're going to find out. And thirdly, find, follow, and study 3 similar businesses, competitors to yours. They might not be in your current location, they might be somewhere else in Australia, but see if you can learn something new about what they're doing to market their business that you can implement into your business. So that's all for today's episode of Small Business Banter. David and I continue to be inspired by bringing you small business experts and hearing your stories. For any of the links, resources or information we've talked about on the show today, or to contact David or I, please head over to smallbusinessbanter.com. And David and I would love you to tune in at the same time next week for another episode of Small Business Banter.